Hello people, I'm the Real Comic Book Gamer. Today I'm going to be counting down my top 5 favorite one-shot single issues. So a one-shot is a self-contained story, something where you don't have to read any other issue, just that issue, and you'll understand the story. Now obviously, if you want to understand the characters, you'll have to read other stuff to understand the characters, but to understand the current story that's going on, you just need to read that one issue. And I'm talking about single issues, not like graphic novels or collections or anything like that. Like Killing Joke is a one-shot, but I'm talking about more single issue type stuff, so let's get into it. And starting us off at number 5 is Hawkeye number 11, which is the last issue in this collection. This issue, it's just a great self-contained story, very smart and simple. It's about Hawkeye's dog and just a day in the life of this dog, Lucky, who has just been a great little side character in the whole series, written by Matt Fraction, and this issue is just all about him. And it's great because you see that he understands about every 5 words or so, he understands a word that like the humans say, and so it's great. So we get these fractured sentences. It's like, oh, that's what the dog's hearing. You also get to see like everything the dog is sensing, like, oh, he smells a hot dog, he hears a car. Like, living in New York City must not be too fun for a dog, for everything that's going on with all his senses. We see him take on like the tracksuit Draculas, and it's just really cool and it's great and I love it. And David Aja's art, which is just amazing, and it's so great at telling the story, and I love it. And it's very visual storytelling because again, you can't really rely on dialogue since the dog can only understand every so and so words. My only problem with it, in the end, the dog does end up going with Kate, which doesn't really match up with everything we've seen about the dog throughout the entire story. Like throughout, well, not the entire story, but the entire run of Matt Fraction's Hawkeye, he seemed to lean more towards Clint. And then in the end, because Kate, she goes out to the West Coast, and Lucky comes with her, just abandons Clint out of nowhere, and that didn't match up. But besides that, I really enjoyed the story, and it's a great one-shot. At number 4, I'm choosing something from Villains Month, which Villains Month, if you don't know what it is, was something that happened a while ago that DC did in the New 52, to where they just took a bunch of villains. They're like, we're going to tell like just these one-shot stories with them, and you guys will enjoy them, and it'll be awesome as a way to make a lot of money. I don't know if it made a lot of money or not, but I bought a lot of Villains Month issues, and I was disappointed with pretty much every single one except for one, and that is the Riddler issue. I don't own it physically, I have it digitally, but it is an amazing issue. It's so great. It's Riddler going through this, like, the Wayne Enterprises tower and just systematically taking everyone down just so he can get to the top to play a card game, and also to get revenge on a guy who did some stuff to him in the past in Arkham. 4 years ago, there was this guy that just shoved him on the ground in Arkham and treated him pretty badly. And during the storyline, this guy actually works that mistreated Riddler. This guy works as security in the Wayne Enterprises. So Riddler ends up blowing this guy's arm off, and he's like, that's the same arm you touched me with in the asylum. And it's like, wow, Riddler holds a grudge a bit, but I just thought it was awesome because to me, Riddler is one of the most underrated Batman villains. He's probably my second favorite to Joker, because of course Joker's great, but I love Riddler, and to me he doesn't get enough love, and this issue was great, and it was showing that like without Batman, no one can really match Riddler, talking about from just like a normal people perspective. And it's really cool seeing him go through this building and systematically take out everything and get to the top, and it's really cool, and I love the insight on the character of Riddler, and I just loved it. It was a great issue, and to me, like the only one out of all the villains issues I read, which I didn't read every single one, but I read a good bit, and this was the only one that I really loved. It was a bright spot in a lot of crappy issues that came out, but it was amazing. You should definitely check it out. At number 3, I have G.I. Joe issue number 21 from the original Marvel G.I. Joe series. This issue released in 1984. I have it in the Best of Snake Eyes collection, and it is a very iconic issue. It paved the way for a lot of comics to follow. Even my number 5 pick was, I believe, inspired by it, even if it didn't know it. And yeah, this issue is it was one of the first of its kind, the first that I know, but anyways, is entirely visual. There's no dialogue, no words, no narration, nothing at all. It is all visual. It's all on the art to tell the story, and you just look at it. That's all it is. There's no words at all. That being said, Larry Hama did a great job laying out the story for this. You understand everything that's going on perfectly, and it's a great little story. What happens is Scarlet gets captured by Storm Shadow. Storm Shadow takes her back to Cobra Base. Snake Eyes is on a mission to go and save her. By the time Snake Eyes gets there, she has already escaped herself. she already escaped, and Snake Eyes is just looking at where she was being held and like, oh crap, I'm doomed because everyone's on high alert since she escaped. And then you see her taking one of the Cobra things and flying away, and so she sees Snake Eyes and she gets him to try to help him to fly out of the base with her. But then Storm Shadow is there and he takes a sword and he chucks it at Scarlet's face, and Snake Eyes ends up catching it over her head, like reaches his arms over her head and catches it, and it's a very iconic panel. And it's a legendary comic. It's great. I've really simplified it, not that it's a very complex story, but it's really good and very well done. One of the first of its kind, so you should definitely read it if you haven't. It's very quick because again, it's all visual, but I love it. I love seeing Snake Eyes do his thing. I thought it was really cool how it sort of changed the damsel in distress thing, because you know Snake Eyes goes to save her. By the time he gets there, she already saved herself. I thought that was interesting. I really enjoyed the story. It's just great. Again, it's iconic and you definitely need to read it. This is just one of those comics I believe everyone that has an interest in comics as like a big comic book fan should read this issue. Even if you're not interested in G.I. Joe at all, just read this one issue just because sort of like the history behind it. Like even Deadpool did a sort of homage to this in an issue to where Deadpool didn't like speak throughout the entire issue. It was very much a homage to this, and yeah, definitely go and read this issue. At number 2, I have Superman Annual number 11, which is a very iconic issue also, and Justice League even made, well, Justice League Unlimited, I don't remember, they're basically the same show. Anyways, they made an episode off it, which I think didn't really do the issue justice, but the issue is great. It's written by Alan Moore, so of course, legendary writer himself, and the man behind The Killing Joke, and many others like Watchmen. Just the guy is a legend in the comics industry, and this is just amazing. It's up to par with everything else he does. And it's Superman's birthday. That's the premise behind this. It's Superman's birthday, so Batman, Robin, and Wonder Woman are going to go and give Superman his presents at the Fortress of Solitude for his birthday, because, you know, they're his friends. You have this really good element of just, like, normal people stuff. Like, I don't know what to get Superman, because what do you get the man who has everything? Like, nothing Superman really, like, anything Superman wants, he already has. And also, you have this great moment to where this is Jason Todd's first time meeting Wonder Woman, and Jason Todd is just awestruck, of course, like anyone his age would be. And then Batman just looks at him and says, "Think clean thoughts, chum." And it's great. I love that line. And Batman has some other good lines in this. But anyways, they go in there and the door's already open, so they're like, oh, Kal-El left the door open, let's go in. They go in there and they see that Superman is like just sitting there sort of paralyzed with this weird thing on his chest, and then Mongol shows up and tells them what it is. It's this sort of telepathic thing that attaches to him, it's like gives them their greatest desire. So Superman is on Krypton, everyone's alive, he's married, he's got a son, and he's just living everyday life on Krypton, which is like what he wants, because he wants to be apart with his people. Well, not apart, he wants to be with his people. And so we see that Superman is living that reality, well, in his head right now. And then we see a very touching moment of Superman having to let go throughout the entire story. We see that he's like, I don't think you're real. Like, he goes to his son and takes him in the middle of nowhere. He's like, I love you. I've been there since you were born, and just, I don't think you're real. That's the problem. And so we see him like tearing up and having to let go of his son in order to get this thing off of him. Like, Superman lets go, and that's what gets this thing off of him, this thing that's attached to him, because there's no other way to get it off of Superman unless he lets go in that like virtual reality. Unless you rip it off with these gloves, which you see later you can, but Batman was planning on ripping the plant off with the gloves, but then he sees that it's already coming off because Superman let go. Where right after that, the plant attaches itself to Batman. Batman sees everything he wants, and he's not really able to let go. So Robin just gets straight off of him. What I thought was interesting, because a lot of time you see people that say, well, Superman's mentally weak and Batman's mentally strong, and that's why he's so much better and stuff. And it's like, well, but what about this? What about here? Superman was able to let go, realize that it wasn't real, realize that this wasn't right, to where Batman was like, oh, my parents are alive, everything's great, oh, this is amazing, and he wasn't able to let go, and Jason Todd had to physically rip the plant off with these special gloves. And I just thought that was an interesting element to the story, and I did love seeing Superman have to go through the phases of letting go. And it's a very touching story in that aspect. But then in the end, Mongol gets the plant on him. Of course, like, karma comes full circle here, and Mongol thinks he like killed everyone, he's the conqueror and everything's great. He's like, yeah, but of course that's not the case. He's just got the plant on his chest. But yeah, overall, great emotional story that, again, Justice League made an episode of, which you can watch, but I much prefer the issue itself. I think the episode doesn't really do it justice to where the issue is great. My number one pick for my favorite one-shot is Jonah Hex issue number 69, which we found in the Bury Me in Hell collection. Now, this story is about Jonah Hex going into this town and hearing these guys talk about this miner who suddenly struck gold because he comes into town and back to where his mining spot is all the time, but this time he brought dynamite, which means he actually found gold and he's gonna be getting it. And so these guys see, oh, easy opportunity to kill this old man and get his gold. Jonah Hex hears them, he follows them to the place, and then goes and confronts the man that's there that is wounded. He got shot, he's bleeding out, he's not dead yet. Turns out that's Jonah Hex's father. Now, while this is a one-shot and you don't have to read anything else that's really connected to it, it is good to know the characters and relationship that Jonah Hex has with his father, because in Jonah Hex's origin, his mother left because of how bad his father was, because his father would always beat his mother and him, and so his mother left with this real estate guy and just got out of there and left Jonah Hex there on his own with his dad. His dad continued to beat him and everything until he decided to move, and when he's going through Apache territory to get passage, he gave his son to them and sold him as a slave. So he became a slave for the Apache, and that led to one thing to another. Ended up him fighting the Civil War. He got a tomahawk burned onto his face. That's why his face is all messed up. So a lot of bad stuff all happened because of his father. His father started everything, and his father was the one that was at the beginning of the snowball effect, and so obviously he's not too fond of this man. And this issue, unlike the others, which are purely just visual that I was talking about earlier, this is pure dialogue. It reminds me a bit of Tarantino, but it is just great. It's just back and forth between Jonah and his father, and Jonah's watching his father die, and that in itself is just interesting, and just the dialogue between these two characters is great, especially when you understand the history. I just love it. It's my favorite one shot. I love the dialogue between these characters because I love the character Jonah Hex, and seeing him finally confront his father for the first and last time is amazing. I love it because in a story arc prior we got to see him confront his mother, but now he gets to confront his father, and the way it happens is just, it's so great. I love the way it's done, the way Jimmy Palmiotti and Justin Gray handled it, and you definitely need to read it. Not much to say because it is like all dialogue based just between these two characters, so there's not much I can really say about the story other than like the setup that I just gave you, and overall it's just amazing and I love it, and the dialogue is fantastic. Anyways, those are my top 5 favorite one-shots of all time. Again, this was for variety's sake though, because I would have thrown in definitely more Superman, Jonah Hex, but I tried to put more variety instead of being like, here's just a bunch of Superman, Jonah Hex one-shots. No, here's some other stuff, because those characters to me have like the best one-shots. Anyways, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please let me know in the comments below what are your favorite one-shots, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I'll see you guys in the next one.